All right.
All right.
So struggle of the week. We've kind of had this, not a rash, but we've had a couple kids come back to us.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one reason that's a struggle is because they're way too comfortable here.
Yeah.
We don't want our kids to be uncomfortable or feel awkward, but they already know kind of the lay of the land.
Mm-hmm.
So they're already just. We've talked about before. Our school has specific rules, but this is already a punishment for them, at least. You know, they're here, so there's not a lot we can. And they already know that.
Right.
So they just immediately start pushing boundaries from the beginning.
Right away.
But the reason I picked it as my struggle is because a couple of them have been happy to be back,
Mm-hmm.
and that's so sad.
Yeah, because what that means. No, go ahead. This is your struggle.
No, go ahead. You were gonna say the same thing I was gonna say is that it means that their home life is worse than here.
Right.
I don't know a ton about your childhood, but I would imagine when you were 12, if you got sent somewhere like this, every day would be a nightmare.
Right.
And we do have kids like that.
Yeah.
But if you came back to somewhere where you're with, living with 600-700 kids who have been diagnosed with mental illnesses, who have usually run afoul of the law, you're living with staff that you don't know.
Yeah.
I just can't imagine being 12, 13, waking up and someone I don't know making me breakfast.
Right.
And then arguing with 4 or 5 people that aren't my brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
About taking a shower. And we've had kids, it's so great to see everyone. I'm
back.
Glad to be back. And I'm just like, oh my God,
Yeah.
how can that be someone's life?
Yeah, it's such a struggle because it's a double-edged sword. Like on one hand, you're excited in the fact that they want to come back on some level. They're excited to be back because that means that we were doing our jobs.
Right.
Like we made them feel comfortable, we made them feel safe, and all of those things. But on some level, we didn't, because then because they weren't able to take what we were with them. For whatever reason, it's not always us, it's not always whatever. But they leave us and they're not able to continue on and push forward. So that they are back here, and we have to. I don't know.
It's almost worse than starting over because they're. And we've talked about this before too. Before they discharge, it turns into more of a friendship because you can't do anything in the last couple of weeks. Where they are is where they are, and you kind of just start talking about stuff you might not talk about with other kids about like the future and what that means to them and all that stuff. And now they're back.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking of 3 kids, and all 3 kids, the first time they were here, made huge progress. So that's also frustrating,
right?
Because it's like they made these huge strides and then went back into their environment, and it didn't mean a lot because they're back.
They're back.
So it's been tough.
Yeah.
And I'm really struggling since it's new. I'm really struggling with how to navigate it.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to pull them aside and be like, "Hey, we're not friends." That was for the last 2 weeks when you left the first time. But I also can't let them act. It's like they think they have a different set of rules than everyone else.
Right, because
they don't.
I'm going to say because they walked in. So and that's also a struggle too, because you're trying to establish or maintain the same expectations that were there for them prior to coming back. I don't know if there's really a suggestion or tip for that.
If you have any, let me know. Or anyone that's listening has any, because we've never been through this before that I can remember kids coming back.
They've come back, but it's I think it's, I don't know for you, but for me, it kind of feels different when there's that level of excitement of kind of wanting to be back.
Right. Our friend that came back about a month ago was so excited.
Right.
And it was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Like when he saw me and saw you, he had this massive smile on his face. And I'm just like, why?
Yeah.
Why are you happy?
Yeah. Because part of the struggle with that, and maybe the tip might be on the end of that, is that there's not much for us to give them. So maybe the struggle and the tip is trying to find something new for them to reach for, or to a new goal for them.
Right.
Sometimes that may be difficult, and for a lot of times, it might be we're taking away, reestablishing, or making connections with friends or family or home life because they are excited to be here, which means that their home life necessarily might not be the end game, the goal.
Right.
So maybe trying to find a way or to reestablish what that looks like, because at the same time we are dealing with a new kid on some level, even though they are new to us coming back, but trying to prioritize what that might look like for them, something for them to attain to, something that we could work on now.
Right. And it's the same as when our kids leave. When a kid leaves DJJ, there's no it's just not fair to the kid. Yeah. Like they leave and then they're back in their environment the next day, next 30 minutes later.
Yeah.
Like we have kids from like about an hour south of here, and they just drive them back, and then they're back.
And then they're back.
So there's no step down. You know, they're not getting therapy anymore. It's just like, hey, here's all your friends that you got in trouble with.
Right.
Here's your chaotic home life that caused all these problems. Your trauma's still there. You just, good luck.
Right. Without the right services put in place, it's like, here you are.
And I know that our agency and other agencies do things, but you can't make a kid's parents take them to therapy. Yeah. Now with the virtual learning, you can't make that, so it's been frustrating.
It's been a bit much, yeah. Which kind of like great segue into my struggle of the week, which is the virtual learning situation and kind of what the challenge that has presented with, I'm pretty sure that, everybody has their own different frustrations with it, and we're all struggling on some level. But new for me is, trying to maintain kids who are not on campus, trying to get them to want to be engaged online has been, if not the biggest or the only struggle, is trying to find ways to keep kids logged in and, like I said, engaged in class virtually, because it's tough when they're here. It's tough when they're in person and face to face, because as we know, like even with the res kids, with the residential kids, like with the circumstances the way they are now, like trying to figure out a way to keep them engaged when they're self-contained in one class is a struggle within itself.
Even if you're standing within 5 inches of them, it's a struggle.
It's a struggle.
To keep the work
right. So like now you take them when they're when they're in their home, and a lot of our kids with circumstances, like I said, they're I'm pretty sure a lot of them are shared, but kids that don't have dual parents in the home or don't have certain childcare set up, so that you may have kids who are in the house by themselves, or who are parents, like I said, who are working, and so that they are you may have a middle school a kid who's trying to manage being like I said everything that comes with being part of our campus, and everything that comes along with that with them and but then also trying to manage school online without any support at home, or just the motivation is hard. And like I said, it's for everybody. 2020 has been 2020.
Yeah. I wonder like the numbers about that stuff, like if teen pregnancies have gone up, if like crime among teens, because there's just so much time. Like in high school, you're an idiot in high school, right? I'm not disparaging our kids, but like all kids, like you just don't make good decisions. Right. So you have all this time.
Yeah.
Your parents aren't home.
Right.
You can have people over. You can be doing whatever you want.
Yeah.
It's like summer break forever.
Yeah.
Because you just have to log into your classes, right? And then kind of it's up to you, like you said. If you want to fail, then you don't.
I mean, it's very easy right now at this point.
Yeah.
So. And I don't know, man. I think we're all searching for tips on this one. Like,
I don't know what you do when a kid's by themselves.
Yeah, and it's really hard. I'm trying to think of like ways to make incentives for attendance, but without being face to face, it's like there's not a whole lot to offer.
Yeah. I'll get you back, and whenever this ends. Right. It might be never, but it might be in 6 months.
I got you.
Yeah.
2022.
I'll owe you one.
Hell yeah.
All right, so. 2 tough struggles, but on the highlight, I had the Cottage 4, which is a girls' cottage, last Thursday. I think I went on Thursdays, and we actually had like an hour and a half of structured class discussion. We read a short story out loud, and we talked about that, and they did all their individual work, and the most important thing to me was they were super kind to each other.
Nice.
Which as you know, that cottage can be pretty vindictive.
Right.
Like something could have happened in the cottage months ago, and then all of a sudden one of them will think about it, and then they all turn on somebody.
Right.
So I didn't have any of that, and then they all ordered books. So when those get here, then they can kind of do the individual reading, and it's just like they've kind of settled into this chill vibe right now, which is nice to have one day a week where you're not like worried about someone getting hit in the head with a book or whatever's going on in class. Like the group I have Fridays, last week we had it was just no one would sit down for an hour and a half. And you're one boy, you'll know what I'm talking about, was trying to ride a scooter around class, screaming, "Give me my computer or else." He was just, and I eventually just gave in, because what was I going to do? I was like, can't let 9 other kids not learn all day.
Right.
He just came up to my desk and goes, "Computer, computer, computer." And I was like, you know the rules. You got to do your paper, computer. And I was just finally like, okay, man.
Right.
I don't know what else to do.
Right. And it leaves you in that place, because then it's either you're either kind of give in, if you will, or you let, the kid hold, the whole class hostage for the whole day.
And the support coach was great and was, I'll take you for a walk, we can go to the gym, and just computer. That was it. So, yeah.
Yeah.
But that was supposed to be a highlight. Yeah. So the highlight last Thursday was awesome, and it made me feel really good.
Yeah, I remember coming in and like you were so excited to like have taught something, been teaching.
We read The Gift of Magi, my favorite short story, and they got it.
Yes.
And they're like, relationships are more important than possessions. I was like, all right, yes.
Yeah.
Like just that one comment, I was like, even if you don't believe that, you read the story and said it. So yeah.
Small victories, man. Put it in your pocket.
Yeah.
My highlight of this week. Actually evolved virtual learning and one of our old feel-good stories. Our boy who was talking about how tall he was and almost as tall as you.
Yeah.
So while he was, in class virtually, one of the, hazards of that is that, Google is right there at your fingertips. And so... Go ahead. Okay. So he wandered off of class. He had gotten done with something and or hadn't, and made his way to Google and started Googling something. And next thing you know, I get a message from his teacher and says, I just saw online, that he's Googling, what parts, edible human parts.
Which I know me laughing, but you can't work here.
But you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And that was my exact reaction. The reaction that you had was a gut wrenching laugh, and so that, and I was like, okay, and immediately I know I'm thinking to the kid, I'm like, all right, I know this started somewhere, with complete innocence, and somehow we got down this rabbit hole. And
that was just because he's an anxious kid, so he'll start thinking about things, and it just turns into that.
Next
like, how am I going to survive this pandemic? I know that's probably what he was thinking.
Right, and that's exactly what I was trying to tell his teachers. I was like, it's probably something innocent, because again, he moved to the day school, so the teachers he's still relatively new to these teachers, so like they wouldn't necessarily understand us laughing right away. Like, so I was trying to comfort them and be like, okay, like I know this, it's probably innocent. I'm pretty sure he's not a cannibal, but but I'll make time and I'll stop in and I'll pop in and I'll talk to him just to make sure. So the highlight part of it is that I was unsure about where we were as far as our relationship. We were good when he left, but time, it always does what it's going to do. And and also the virtual, it gives you it's very easy to not be engaged. It's one click of a button to be like, I'm out of this meeting. And so I just messaged him, said, hey, can you hang out after class? I want to talk to you about something. And I wasn't expecting much of anything. It was 50-50. Like, if he shows her, he's either going to ditch. But I was really encouraged and happy and excited about the fact that he stayed, and he, was willing to engage with me and have the conversation. And so that was the highlight. The fact that he stayed engaged and the fact that like I felt it means that my time was done with him. And I'll get into our dialogue, because that was funny too. But that made me feel good to say, hey, like it was a reminder that you do work, and when you do your work, there are rewards for it, and it's not monetary. And sometimes you don't always see it, but that's one of those small times where it's like, hey, you did a really good job. A kid didn't have to talk to you about anything or info, but you reached out, and all it was to say, hey, can I talk to you about something? And again, this is one of our kids who used to just elope and leave class and tell you to go F yourself. Pretty routinely. But his dialogue, so I say, hey, you were Googling, edible parts, what's up with that? I'm a little worried, I was just concerned. I'm pretty sure it's nothing, but I just wanted to check in. And he was like, LOL. And then he was like, oh, that. He was like, I was Googling how to, how you fry water, because I heard that you could Google how to fry water. And he was like, so I started with that. And I was like, oh, okay, so it's just the Google rabbit hole. He was like, yeah, just a Google rabbit hole. And he was like, before I could say anything, he was like, don't worry, I'm not a cannibal.
And that's a big deal, him staying after, because it's so hard to form relationships with him. We've talked about him before, the distrust of adults, which a lot of our kids have. And, so that's awesome.
Yeah.
And I like the laughing. you know, it's just one of those jobs where you have to. If every time you read something heartbreaking, you sat there and pondered it for 15 minutes and like you can't work here.